puppy didn't even understand how much danger it was in when it was wrapped by a king cobra. A person risked his life by removing the snake with his bare hands, but fortunately, no one was hurt, including the cobra. 2 elephants were searching for water in a dried-up dam in Kenya and got stuck in mud instead. Several dozen people came to their rescue. Even a helicopter was involved. This operation took several hours when finally, this cyclist found a hedgehog in the woods that was unconscious due to severe dehydration. The man proceeded to revive the poor animal with his tea. An opossum crawled to the side of the road in hopes of getting some help. And it was a good call. This woman took care of the animal and brought it to a clinic. And to formed search parties to aid and rescue animals. And here is one such rescue of a cat. Many animals suffered when a dam was breached in Ukraine, and things could have ended very badly for this dog. Just notice the hope with which it looks at the person who didn't abandon it, and instead brought it onto the boat and took it to safety. This kitten is being picked up to the sound of explosions in the background. And here is yet another Ukrainian story with a happy ending. A stingray found itself on dry land after a storm. Luckily, it was found by a kind person. This guy found a dog that was so famished it could barely stand. He started feeding it every single day and later took it to a clinic and ensured the dog is better. Watch how much better the dog looks a few weeks later. And this person is risking their life to free the birds stuck in the electricity cables. Eagles, crows, and seagulls. And just like the shark, this squirrel is seeking help from humans. Notice how it's desperately trying to get into the boat, almost as if it knows that people will do no harm. Wet but adorable nonetheless, this creature is showing no resistance when the fisherman picks it up. The squirrel even waves goodbye with its tail, we can only assume as a thank you. Alpha predators approach humans for help sometimes as well, like this wolf with a gaping wound on its head. Normally it would avoid humans, but now, lonely, weak, and hungry, it cannot hunt for food. Wolves can sense their prey almost 2 miles away due to their advanced sense of smell, and this wolf detected the smell of a freshly baked bun in a woman's pocket. The sheer determination the wolf is displaying as it leaves the woods and approaches the woman, this account is as inspiring as it is shocking. The wolf takes the food from a human, carefully and repeatedly, making sure not to hurt their unexpected ally. There's no way that's a coincidence. It draws us a picture of the animal's thought process. Observation: the human is not acting in an aggressive way, followed by a conclusion: I can trust the human. And even a risk assessment. I would rather avoid contact, but I have no choice but to seek help. The ability to assess the situation in such a manner shows that the wolves have the potential to think rationally. It might not be what we expected from a wolf, but a recent experiment conducted by Austrian scholars proved that wolves are, in fact, more observant and savvy than domesticated dogs. We're all tangled up. What would have happened if it weren't for this kind man? These guys wanted to free the crocodile that was stuck in concrete and nearly got into trouble themselves when a second croc attacked them. This wild cheetah is no different than a domestic cat when it was asking for food. apart from the fact that it was ever so slightly bigger. It's a good thing people came up with a way to rescue a horse that fell into a well. A bear cub was looking for food in a barrel, but instead stumbled into some trouble. People took the risk to help the animal out, and it was a success. People found a pony that could not walk due to overgrown hooves. First, they had to trim them, and then the pony had to be taught how to walk and run. On top of that, it took a whole year for the animal to learn to trust people again. And here is a rescue of an old, wounded tiger. And how about this sperm whale? It is clearly signaling to a diver that it needs help, and is more than accommodating while the human is trying to remove the fishing hook stuck in the whale's mouth. Look at this striking footage. It turns out, in case of emergency, even animals want to visit a dentist, and they can say, "ah," just as well as people. That's yet another proof that animals are not only intelligent, they also have the ability to empathize. Once the sperm whale is set free, it's in no rush to leave. In fact, it's so keen to express its gratitude to the diver as he strokes the whale like a puppy. Watch this sea resident make its way towards a diver as if they are best buddies. You can almost hear the turtle saying, "Hey dude, I have a shell stuck in my back. Do me a favor and remove it, eh?" And the human is only happy to oblige. Communication is key, and let's not forget about gratitude. The way the turtle tilts its head, that's definitely how they say thanks in turtle. Sometimes the trust has to be earned. The author of this video interacted with the fox for over a year by feeding it. However, one day the fox refused to eat. Instead, it grabbed the food and signaled the human to follow it. The fox clearly has a plan. Notice the way it keeps stopping to check if the human is still walking along. And what do we find at the final destination? Turns out this fox had recently become a mom and brought the human to meet the babies. Leading the person to the living quarters was a genius move. Now the fox can stay to protect the young, and the human can deliver the food right to them. Girls pulled a bird nest out of the water and were astonished to find 2 tiny baby birds inside. Naturally, they had to take on the role of the new mom. A very complex and dangerous operation by freeing a rattlesnake from a net, but this guy was well prepared. People witnessed a moose falling through the ice, and the animal was exhausted after its endless attempts to climb back out. At first, they tried to pull the moose out on their own, but in the end, they had to call a special rescue crew that could help the animal. This bird feeder had an ant infestation, and one of them was holding a hummingbird by the beak. Thankfully, people came to its rescue right in time. This girl noticed a wounded dog on the other side of the river. Despite being exhausted and in pain, the dog was still wagging its tail, knowing that this was its last chance of salvation. The girl brought the dog home with her and made sure it was well taken care of. Pipe.
Hi, baby.
People heard its desperate plea for help and got the animal out. And here was a rescue of a rabbit that nearly died due to dehydration. This girl helped a heron that was stuck in the mud. She brought it home, and once the bird was feeling better, she released it, and then the heron came back. And this orca was beached on the coast of the Baltic Sea, and it was patiently waiting while people were trying to think of a plan to rescue it. In the end, the rescue crew wrapped some ropes around the animal and pulled it to a depth where it felt more comfortable. This girl heard a little bird calling to her. Turns out, this was a parakeet with a broken foot. She brought the bird home and nursed it back to health. Take a look. It's not afraid of people, quite the contrary. A pool became a real trial for this chipmunk. Thankfully, the help arrived just in time.
It's okay. Shh. Okay.
The police helped a pelican that was tangled in a fishing line, including the fishing hook.
Good, Officer Pierce, at Eckerd College, marine biologist, and the pelican's gonna live another day.
Eagle failed to fly away during a high tide and started to drown. It was very lucky to have a boat nearby with people willing to help. They managed to pull the bird out of water, and while the eagle was very nervous at first, after a few minutes it calmed down and was just chilling in the man's arms. Thankfully, the bird did not have any serious injuries and was released to freedom the next day. A sperm whale swam up to a diver of its own volition, and the latter helped the animal remove a fishing hook that was stuck in its mouth. Once it was done, the whale did not leave straight away, showing something like gratitude for the help. Imagine the surprise of this married couple when a penguin climbed into their kayak. Turns out it was injured and needed some help. This man is rescuing his dog left on a sailboat during Hurricane Ian, reaching 40 miles per hour. Tourists noticed a dolphin stuck in shallow water, so they released it back to the open sea. This guy is risking his life to help a dog that fell out of a window and was basically trapped on an AC unit. Take a look. The dog clearly understands what to do. Thankfully, this story had a happy ending. Much more independent, it is clearly not planning to ask for help. Instead, the fox is trying to get to these fishermen's food supply. Amazingly, it doesn't run away when the owner of the bag appears. It just waits patiently, and check this out. The fox is not only helping itself to the food, it is taking it right from the human's hand. Such behavior can be explained by the fact that hunting for mice is more difficult when the ground is frozen. This beautiful beast must be very hungry. In the previous clip, we saw a fox eating quality meat, yet this one is happy to munch on a sausage. Who knows? Maybe it's now the fox's favorite dish. Waiter, I'll have what they're having. Sometimes fishermen catch something much bigger than fish. These 3 bear cubs were crossing the river and unfortunately got separated from their mom and started drowning. Humans to the rescue! All that's left to do for the mama bear is to pick up her cubs where the fishermen left them. Residents of Argentina spotted 7 orcas stranded on land, which could have resulted in their death. Now imagine how hard it would be to move an animal weighing over 4 tons, but they managed. The firefighters pulled 5 puppies out of a burning factory, but the animals were unconscious. They needed a heart massage and some cold water to come back to life, and their mother was able to see her babies safe and sound. This duck ended up under the ice, but thankfully a person came to its rescue right in time. It took the entire village to pull an elephant calf out of a well. They even got an excavator. People decided to dig a tunnel so that the animal could climb out of its trap, and they even treated the elephant's wound. And finally, compassionate people called police to save a dog that was left in a locked car in a 90-degree heat. The animal spent several hours in the car and was close to death, but the police came right in time, giving the dog first aid and then taking it to a clinic. People heard a small blinded kitten crying and decided to help. They cleaned its eyes, gave it medicine, fed the poor animal, and made sure it was warm. Now look at it a few days later. Proper care makes a huge difference. Look at the state of this homeless puppy at the time it was found. It was taken into a home and cared for, and this is what the dog looks like 2 years later. The fishermen noticed something struggling in the water, and when they got closer, it turned out to be a young deer desperately swimming toward the boat in hopes of receiving help. It clearly found the right people for that. An example of the way garbage thrown in the sea harms marine life. A turtle got lucky that these guys noticed its suffering and helped the poor animal.
Yeah, I think he understands. Yeah. See ya, big fella.
An orangutan fell down in the water and began to drown, but the zookeeper immediately followed the animal into the water, pulled it out, and administered first aid. It's hard to say what would have happened to this fox if it weren't for the man with a shovel. The eagle was all set to have an octopus for breakfast, but this was clearly a bad idea. Thankfully, people noticed the commotion right in time and managed to free the bird from the tentacles. This blind camel was wandering through the desert in search of water for a long time, and this man came up with a way to give it water by luring the animal near a large bowl using sounds of water. This Ukrainian soldier risked his life to evacuate a hamster left in a village that was hit with missiles. This is why we need traffic police. This man freed an owl tangled up in a net. The bird's expression really conveys how happy it is. These people in Iceland rescued young puffins that came down from the mountains in search of food and couldn't fly back. The locals managed to capture them, take them to the mountains, and release them.
We're getting a lot closer to get you.
A cat got stuck in a small crack between two walls and was begging for help. They had to break down one of the walls to get the poor animal out.
Okay, here we go, video, So happy.
And these are the lengths that these guys went to in order to rescue baby owls that fell out of their nest. This woman picked up a sick raccoon and nursed it back to health. Just listen at the way it thanks her.
That he was gonna be okay.
A dolphin got washed up during Hurricane Ian, and these guys were among a few people who stayed on the island and managed to return the animal back to its natural habitat. It was a real miracle that this person spotted a baby mole in trouble. At least now it's safe. While some people litter, harming nature, others help, just like this person who removed a plastic bottle from an Arctic fox. A fisherman stumbled upon a monkey in the water. It was really tangled in the netting and could barely move. He immediately jumped into action, trying to free the poor animal and give it something to eat. The way the monkey looks at him speaks volumes.